Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our product training. We have Austin, who is our go-to person for our Ask the Scientist, and his knowledge is so broad. He is going to go over with you about the USANA probiotic, a quick fact-based information, but it is going to be short and sweet. So let's take it away, Austin.
Thanks for having me. So I think to understand the probiotic, you really have to understand digestive health as a whole and what the microbiome does for us, what the microbiome is. And so this includes a little bit of an introduction to the microbiome, its benefits for us, and then we'll delve in a little bit closer to the probiotic. So specifically, the microbiome are the bacteria that live all on our body, and there's actually different microbiomes on different parts of the body. Your skin has its own microbiome, your hair would have a microbiome. What you're most commonly used to hearing about is those in the gastrointestinal tract, in the gut. And so those are the ones that would be focused on with the probiotic, and really the ones that you can most heavily influence through some of your dietary choices and lifestyle choices, and the things that you're doing just on a day-to-day basis. The numbers show there's about 100 trillion gut bacteria inside of you between your small and large intestine, which is, if you count all those cells, that's more cells than the entire rest of your body combined. And so it kind of makes logical sense that they would have an impact on our body. They're not just something there. We've always known they play a role in digestion, but in the last couple decades, with more research into the microbiome, especially over the last 7 or 8 years, it's become a really hot topic. We've started to realize the importance it has on all the different aspects of health, not just digestion. When we first get some of our microbiome, it actually typically comes from birth. So it starts from day one, we start getting this microbiome, and then step by step throughout our lives, it slowly evolves based on some of the choices that we're making. So some of these choices can be, I mentioned dietary ones as well. There's things like sleep that play a role in your microbiome. I mentioned the skin has its own microbiome, so the type of shampoo, conditioner, body wash, soap that you're using will actually kill some types of bacteria, promote the growth and health of other types of bacteria. And so there's lots and lots of things that we do that impact the bacteria on us and also within our gut. So the imbalance specifically of gut bacteria has been shown to actually cause some of that GI discomfort that we've all experienced in the past. You've probably heard about traveler's diarrhea or experienced it when traveling to a new country. And that doesn't mean it's always necessarily something that it's a bad bacteria, but it might just be something you're not used to because of a new food or a new environment, creating sudden changes in your microbiome. So that's an example of just a quick way that you can actually change your microbiome. So I mentioned diet a few times here, and we're going to take a look at some of the science on how diet specifically impacts your microbiome. Fiber is one of the biggest ones. Today's focus is on probiotic and the microbiome, but one thing you want to potentially be taking would be Fiber G. There's also a good amount of fiber in the Nutrimilk products if you're concerned about your gut bacteria. What this research did specifically, they weren't doing a count of total bacteria, but they were measuring the amounts of different types of bacteria. And what they found is there's very, very few different varieties in a low fiber diet. And unfortunately, most of us don't get enough fiber. Most of us are getting anywhere from 8 to 15 grams of fiber a day, and we should really be getting double or triple that amount of fiber. And so you get that by eating more plants, green leafy vegetables. If you're going to eat potatoes, bake them in the oven, leave the skin on it would be a way to get more fiber in your diet. Fruits with the skin still on it. Once again, if you don't peel your apples, the peel has a little bit of fiber in there. And so these are some of the ways you can introduce fibers into your diet. And then that fiber will actually increase the variety in your microbiome. And that's what this showed, is they're measuring the different types, and each of those colored bars are a different species of bacteria within the microbiome. And so you see probably the most diverse one there might be the plant fiber or just high fiber as a total, in comparison to the low fiber diet that has very little diversity. This was another study done looking at specifically the role of fat on microbiome. And so to explain this a little bit, the chart on the left there that has that PC1, PC2, PC3, what they were doing specifically was measuring different bacteria strains and their prevalence based on diet. And so you find that you get different types of bacteria growing, whether the subject was eating lard versus fish oil. So the fish oil is in blue and the lard is in red. And they start to diverge the bacteria in the host microbiome. And so that's a quick example that you get different bacteria, just like with the fiber. But this study took it a step further. They actually wanted to look at health outcomes as a result of those different types of bacteria. And they found, particularly in this one, despite eating the same amount of calories, and this is something I found interesting. I'm kind of into sports nutrition and weight loss and health quite a bit. And traditionally, it was always a calorie is a calorie. It doesn't matter where it comes from. And new research has shown increasingly that's not true, that different types of calories are digested differently. And a big part of that is because of the bacteria that they might promote within ourselves. And so this showed that that group eating lard, despite eating the same amount of calories as the group eating fish oil that they were supplementing with, actually ended up gaining a significantly large amount of weight in comparison to the fish oil group. And so just an example of how eating healthy impacts your microbiome and how that impacts your overall health. In addition to just kind of these overall health things, it plays a specific role in digestion and then immune health that you've heard a lot about before with our microbiome products. So as far as digesting goes, they can actually help break down some of the foods that we eat. There's certain foods and vitamins that our body either can't break down, can't synthesize, or can't absorb on its own. We need bacteria to get some of those. So vitamin K is a perfect example of that. We can't actually get the vitamin K that we need without our microbiome. And so without it, you would be deficient. And that is one of the ways that they diagnose vitamin K deficiency, or not diagnose it, but one of the ways they would help prevent it is by changing people's microbiome through supplementation of certain foods or other items. It helps break down some of the carbohydrates and proteins that we eat so that they're absorbed better. So it really plays a strong role in digestion. And then it plays a few different roles in immune health. The first one mentioned here is a barrier effect. And the barrier effect is really what it is a competition for space. And so there's only so much space in our gut. And I mentioned there's about 100 trillion bacteria is what can fit inside of there. Well, if all 100 trillion of those are good bacteria, then there's just simply not space for the bad bacteria. And so that's the role of the barrier effect. It also plays a couple of other roles in immune health. Specifically, you look at competition for nutrients, because they're fighting for some of that same food that we eat to feed ourselves. They have to live off of that as well. And if it runs out of enough nutrients for the bacteria, if all the good bacteria eat it up before the bad bacteria can get to it, that's one way it would help in immune health. And then finally, our microbiome plays a role in cell signaling. There's actually certain bacteria that can recognize potential pathogens or harmful things before our own bodies recognize them. And so they can recognize them early on and then send some signaling molecules to our bodies that trigger our immune system to start ramping up a little bit before we've even recognized them ourselves. And so that's another role, is just simply alerting us to problems that are coming in the future. And then we'll take a look at specifically the USANA probiotic. In addition to some of the lifestyle things, it's just like supplementation with the Cell Essentials, for example. Those can't replace a good lifestyle and a good diet overall. That would be the same thing with the probiotic. You need to make sure you're getting enough fiber in your diet on a daily basis, and if you're not, consider a fiber supplement like Fiber G. Getting enough overall variety, fruits, vegetables, some healthy fats. But then this here is your next step to really making sure that you have enough healthy bacteria inside your gut. So the product specifically has 12 billion bacteria. Some of the kind of unique, cool looks like, okay, my mic I saw cut out for a second. What I was saying is it's stable at room temperature, so you don't have to worry about shipping long-term across the country or other problems. It's dairy and sugar-free, so you don't have to worry about a lot of the common allergens that might exist in other products. The 12 billion bacteria are comprised of 2 specific strains, Lactobacillus rhamnosus GG and Bifidobacterium lactis BB12. And if you think those names are confusing, they just actually passed some new research a couple years ago. It's been in progress for about 5 or so years, and they're just going to be changing those names to something even more complicated for the future. So Lactobacillus, I don't remember, but either way, regardless of how goofy the names are, there's some great benefits to these particular strains. So you'll find at the bottom there, I've listed a few of the citations specific to these benefits. But if you go to askthescientist.com, which is the website I help run and some of the scientists at USANA, we have a whole page on the USANA probiotic, a great big comprehensive list of the benefits and all of these research studies if you want to take a closer look at the research. But it's been specifically shown to help support just the overall gut flora, which kind of what that is, just maintaining an overall good balance all the way around. It helps specifically in those immune system functions that I mentioned earlier, as far as barrier function, competing for nutrients. And then as well, it helps supports gut flora for intestinal regularity. If you've ever taken antibiotics in the past, sometimes those will, well, what they do, in addition to killing the potential harmful bacteria in your body, they will kill the gut bacteria in your body as well. And by supplementing with a probiotic, it helps keep a regular flow of new fresh bacteria in there. And so that would be a critical time where this regularity would be beneficial. And with that, I just want to thank you. Like I said, this was pretty short and sweet. If you have any questions, go to askthescientist.com. You'll find lots and lots of more information on the USANA probiotic there. You can send me questions about your products, and myself or my team will answer any of the individual questions you might have. And with that, thank you very much.